Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with Mary Scholz. She has just released a stellar new record called Begin Again, and I'm super excited to talk to her all about it. Mary, I want to sincerely thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. I'm very excited to have the record out and have everyone finally have a chance to listen to it. So
You
doing
should
good.
be you should be thrilled. It is fantastic. I've had the
Thank you.
opportunity to listen a couple times through now, and it's gotten better on each listen.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
And the really like I want to know what it's about. Like I can make the connections by myself, but I want to know, is it a series of isolated singles or is it kind of an overarching story?
Well, it's interesting. This is the first time that I was making a record where the songs had never been performed in any way with full band live
Mhm.
at all. So it was a combination of there's a few songs on the record that are older tunes that just never really saw the light of day
Oh,
because I was promoting songs from other records and touring songs from other records. And then there are a number of songs that were written during the height of the beginning of the pandemic.
sure.
And so what I found really interesting about all of them is that they are sort of just finding their way into from these endings into these beginnings, right? So the record is called Begin Again. And I feel that, we're all sort of starting over and releasing the tensions in our bodies and trying to figure out how to move forward. And these songs are kind of about that in various stages of relationships, of life, of working your way through. There are a couple songs that are about my own experience with being involved in certain like religious backgrounds and moving forward and out of that and finding your path in those ways. So when I released a record in 2014 called The Girl You Thought You Knew, and that was like a story arc record, really from
Sure.
front to back. And this one it really isn't that way, but it does have this ebb and flow. And I like to say that, it starts with the darkest blue of the night and works its way through like the heat of the day and comes back around to the stars.
Right.
And I think that when you listen through it that way, it really does that. And you could then loop back to the beginning of the record and start back in the middle of the night again.
I definitely noticed that. I'm happy that you mentioned it. Not that it starts off like melancholy or sad or anything, but it does seem to sort of like perk up and get brighter as it goes on, which I'd much prefer it that way than the opposite of like feeling sad by the
Right.
end.
You've
So
got
I
like,
think
here we go. And then you get in
right,
and you're
you're
like,
just like
oh.
we get some Kleenex for my tears over here. But that does not happen,
Oh,
which is,
good.
like I
I'm
said, the
glad.
main reason why I've enjoyed it. And before we started recording, I was geeking out hard because the production on this record is it's fantastic, and I would recommend for anyone who's about to listen with a nice pair of headphones or a sound system or something. This isn't something that you want to put on your laptop speakers or even your car. Like really, like get into it. But it is produced by Jonathan Wilson, who, if anyone is not aware, is like been Father John Misty's right hand man for years and has his own works. He's super impressive. So he produced this record. I'd love to know how that came to be.
Sure. I was so glad to have the chance to work with him. We had such a fun time making this record. And it was, while we were in the thick of what's happening in the world, and I was supposed to make a new record, and we kind of cut a couple songs already, but that doesn't seem like that's what we know. I ended up releasing an EP last year called Lonesome with these songs that were supposed to be on this record, and then the world shut down. Anyway, so
Happens.
as we were sort of trying to reconfigure what the plan would be, this is like the first time I was working with a team. I have been very fiercely independent for the last 15 years.
Sure.
And just, I met Kirk Passage, who is the co-founder of Blue Lawn Records, and was talking with him about signing with Blue Lawn. And then he ended up creating this company called KZZ Music, and so we started talking about releasing the music through KZZ as a partner in a partnership with Blue Lawn. So that's sort of where this started, and we were talking about getting into the studio, and I have co-produced or solo produced all of my records, and my fiance was like, he was like, you might be able to, like, who do you want to work with? You have a little bit more of a team to try and go after
Yeah.
stuff for you. Who would you want to work with? So I started putting together a list of folks, but I was just like not landing anywhere in my mind that felt right. And one night he put this vinyl on. He put on the Father John Misty record, and I just remember I was on the couch and I was
Oh,
like, this one. Who produced this one?
there you go.
He's like, oh, it's
That's the
Jonathan
best.
Wilson. I was like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, so we reached out to Jonathan, and he was interested, and we got lunch to talk about what I do and what he does, and whether or not it was a good fit. And we just hit it off, and it was really great. It was really great.
That's awesome. So about start to finish, how long did it take for this entire process?
Well, start to finish meaning like like trying to figure out scheduling and things, or the actual recording, because we
So the
had
actual recording.
the actual recording. We did 10 days in the studio with Jonathan,
Cool.
and we cut 13 songs, and
Wow.
10 of them are on
Cut
this record.
13 songs.
Oh,
Oh my
yes.
goodness.
Which, by the way, was 5 days with the band. I had my musicians in for
Yeah.
5 days. And then, so we did 13 songs in 5 days. And then the next 5 days were spent with me, overdubbing. We did everything live to tape in the same room,
Sure.
and I played with everybody. But then we redid my guitar and my vocals. And we kept all my piano, I think, from the live takes. And, I think once we got out of the studio, there were like two acoustic guitar things that were added to one song,
Mhm.
then that's it. So we cut and finished 13 songs in 10 days, 10 of which are on this record, 3 more to come in the future. And then sent them off to Dave Sermonara, who mixed it, and then I went off to Emily Lazar and Chris Allgood for mastering over at the Lodge,
Fantastic. And
which
like I
was also
said,
very exciting to me because Emily, I think,
super exciting.
she's the only female mastering engineer currently who has won a Grammy Award, and so I was very, very excited
Wow.
that I got to have her on my team on this one.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with independently releasing music, but when you have a team to back you up and do the research and actually make
Do a
it
little
work,
like
like,
heavy pulling for you. Yeah, it's because
yeah,
you can really only do so much.
yeah,
And I have done a lot over my career by myself. And now that I have folks helping me, I'm wondering how I even did what I did, because I still don't have enough hours in the day to do all the shit I need to do
totally.
on these
Well, it's a learning
projects.
experience. It's actually something that I really wanted to talk about was, so like you're coming off this EP Lonesome, which was released last year.
Yeah.
And obviously things have changed immensely. Did you approach this one in any different way? Not even on the writing, but I guess sort of like the administration end. Like the jump for
Uh,
an independent to team had to have been massive, and I'd love to hear sort of
yeah, it
process.
definitely was. But Lonesome is part of that jump, right? So
Okay.
I started releasing singles through KZZ during the pandemic. We did Lady Liberty and Only in Your Heart, which is part of a Jerry Beckley of America project for him.
Okay.
And then the Lonesome EP, the first 3 songs on it are songs we did as like the beginning of our working together as a team. We're gonna go in the studio and like,
Mhm.
and then everything got put on hold for the end of the world. so so when it came time to try and figure out this new record, that was the first full package thing that we put out together as a team,
Got
which
it.
was awesome because it like was the first time I had any charting on Americana radio of any kind. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And that was a nice thing to sort of tee us up to be like, okay, cool, you were interested in that EP that we put out in the flurry.
Right.
Here's this record that we have spent a lot of time really, working on getting out and presenting to everybody. So I'm excited about. Oops, sorry,
Okay.
neighborhood noise.
All good.
Always
People
something.
people got to show off. They got to show
I
off.
know,
Got it.
it's terrible. Oh my gosh. But yeah, um, it's this is much more of a cohesive record,
Totally.
whereas Lonesome was, there were 3 songs from one session and then 2 songs that were both done individually, and we just put them together to put them out as a package.
Right.
So this is more like this is a journey.
I also really felt the cohesion, and it's something that I put in my notes. It's also something that I kind of want to expand on a little bit. Is it's cohesive. It's a record. You can tell that it's you, but there's also a ton of genre influences coming through. It doesn't stick to one thing. And there's no right answer here, but I'd sort of like to hear from you if you had to give the elevator pitch of what it is, how you could describe it in a way.
Sure. I have been saying it's like a 10-song Americana journey
Sure.
that explores influences, of my musical influences, including folk and folk pop, folk rock, and then much deeper into the Americana world, and then back out again. And that's something that I really like about the record because you know, I have been playing music for a long time, and what I grew up listening to all kinds of styles of music, and I
Sure.
have put out records that have all at their core been a singer-songwriter record.
Yeah.
Some of them leaning more this direction, some others, and I mentioned The Girl You Thought You Knew, and that was really like a folk pop singer-songwriter record.
Okay.
But California is really like a folky, explorative folk rock, kind
Yeah.
of steps more into this world. I should have closed the windows.
Okay. It's hot. I don't blame you.
It's too
It's hot today.
hot. But so this one is a little bit of a little bit of a merging of the two
Okay.
of those records. All the other EPs and singles aside, it really kind of puts together these different worlds that I have been a part of and that are very much who I am musically. I grew up listening to James Taylor and Joni Mitchell. Well, not Joni Mitchell till later, actually, but like James Taylor and Carole King and the Beatles, just as much as I was like a diehard fan of Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, and getting into like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of crossover of those things. And I was just mentioning to someone yesterday that I was recognizing and realizing when I was, starting out in my career, at some point I said what I would love to do is to get to have, I want a bluegrass band backing me.
That would
But
be nice.
I don't want to be playing bluegrass music because I'm not a bluegrass artist. That's just not who I am.
Sure.
But I love the instrumentation. I love the music too. But I was really, really love Alison Krauss and Union Station. And I'm like, well, if I could
Yeah.
have that kind of band, but we could play my style of music. And I'm just recognizing that that's what we did. That's exactly what we did. We took
Right.
this band. We have got dobro and pedal steel and bouzouki and upright bass and all of these beautiful instruments and Wurlitzer and Hammond organ, but playing these sort of like folky, folk rock, folk pop kind of songs.
Right.
So I appreciate that it's a little bit tricky because people are like, well, I don't know, is it an Americana record? I'm like, yeah, if you listen to it.
I mean, that's a broad term, but yeah, it really
that,
is.
that's why I love the term Americana because
Yeah.
it is an umbrella term. And it really captures, I'm not a country artist,
Sure.
but I am a folk artist who incorporates instrumentation that's,
Yeah.
typical of more country music. I love the term because it hugs a group of people that otherwise are like, I don't know, I'm on the outskirts.
Totally.
So,
No, it casts a wide net of who could enjoy it. If you
mhm,
outright say, hey, this is a country album, you've lost a massive audience. I mean,
yeah,
it gained another, but it really does hit so many points for so many different people. Like Americana is a blanket term, but there's so much that falls under it on this record. I think that anyone who can really appreciate a full grand sound is going to enjoy it. I really enjoy this album. I say just
I'm
click the
so
play button
glad.
and yeah, sincerely. I want to know though, throughout the entire process, is there something that you look forward to the most? Like whether it be dreaming up these songs or actually being done with the writing process and getting to the studio, something that like, because you've been doing it for a while, so I assume that there's like a bright spot in the process.
Well, I mean, playing live and touring the record is always, I think, my favorite thing
Yeah,
because that's just where I feel most at home and what I feel like I don't know, just the personal connection that you can get with your audience members and the songs.
sure.
But I have grown to really love the studio process. I used to be so uncomfortable in the studio and really feel the pressure of like, oh my God, especially when we made
Yeah,
California, we did that to tape and that was just it. There were no overdubs. It was what you got.
totally.
And I was like, oh my God.
This is real low because everyone's got that imposter feeling, and then you get in a studio and you're like, oh shit, this is yeah,
Yes.
this is
It's like it's
happening.
right there in my ears. I can hear when I
Yeah.
when I have a saliva, ew.
Yep. Totally.
But like on
Love it.
this, I really have grown to appreciate each step of the process. I
Sure.
really love to write, and it comes in cycles for me. I'll be like either going through a huge phase of writing, or I'm in a lull with writing, and I'm really focusing on songs I've already written. Which is kind of where I am right now. I still write. I'm still writing. I write all the time, but I'm not like writing like when
Yeah.
I am in
Can't
a
turn it off.
you know, right. It can't turn it off, but it's also like not a phase where I'm not in the part of the phase where I'm writing all the time.
Sure.
And for this record, there was, again, I felt really happy about my own ability to remind myself, okay, here we are. Like you're in this gorgeous studio with this wonderful producer and all of your favorite musicians to play these songs you wrote.
Yeah.
Like soak it in. Like don't be
Right.
stressed about it. The day that I was leaving my house to go for the first day in the studio, I gave myself a little pep talk where
Got
I
it.
was just like, I was like, listen, you have always done work that you know, stood behind. So you have to trust yourself. You have worked with these musicians who you love and you trust them. So you trust them. You know that Jonathan does wonderful work. So you trust him. So guess what? We get to just walk in there and trust that what's going to come out at the end is going to be wonderful. And so don't worry about it, just enjoy it. And I really was able to lean into that, I think more so than I ever have on a record before. And it was just, you know, we had hugely long days
Yeah.
and they were awesome and fun. And I really enjoyed it.
I love that's such a positive mindset to have because so many other people would be scared out of their minds, but it's sort of like a act like you've been there moment before.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, not that I wasn't scared, but like,
I would be scared.
I definitely, I mean, I've had many scary moments in the studio, especially like, you know, it's so expensive to make a record and you feel like, okay, well, don't like mess this up.
Yeah.
But I was very, I was very grateful to for like being able to let go of that for most of the process. And, you know, in retrospect, like not in retrospect, but after the fact, now that we've been trying to package and promote that. I was like, there's like, I don't know what's going on outside.
3 races in Hollywood. All good.
Trying to like figure out, okay, well, how are we going to release it, and what's the release schedule, and what singles go out first, and what gets, you know, this focus, and it's beautiful because I have a team, but now I also have a bunch of opinions flying around, and like, what is the best way to do it? Like that, I think was the most stressful to me, and I'm being like, I have this beautiful record, and I don't want to mess up the release because I want it to reach as many people as it can because I believe in it. And that's the goal, right? Is to reach as many people as you can so that you can find those people who need it, who need that song, who need that record.
Absolutely.
So that's the most nerve-wracking part to me, is the like planning of it getting out. But now I can just be like, okay, cool, we're here.
We're here. We've done it.
It's out.
Off of my shoulder. So are you playing shows? Do you have any shows in the works or currently planned?
Yes. So the record release show, we're recording this ahead of time. This is coming out on record release day,
you
right?
can speak openly.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good. I promise.
The record release show is tonight, July 22nd at Hotel Cafe here in Los Angeles.
Cool.
I'm very excited. We have the whole 7-piece band, special guests. It's going to be like a whole rockin' good time, as well as introspective, thoughtful music too.
Yeah.
All the things. And then I have a couple shows next week where I'm going to sing a James Taylor and Carole King tribute up in the Central Coast.
Very
I'm doing
cool.
2 nights of that, which will be a lot of fun. And then I have a number of things kind of scattered right now, and I have more tour dates to announce that I'm just like waiting on confirmation for. But we're doing a second record release show in September in Philly, which is where I'm from originally, at City Winery on September 21st. Which is the day before my birthday. I was trying to do my birthday. I was like, let's do it, record release birthday show in Philly. But scheduling wise, we ended up the day before. And then on the 22nd, we're going up to New York and playing at Rockwood Music Hall. So those are the big ones. Tonight in LA, September 21st in Philly, and September 22nd in New York. But there will be like an onslaught of other tour dates after that.
Perfect. Well, we'll have links so everyone can check out what's going on.
Awesome.
I've got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
So we're recording this about midway through July, which means we're at the halfway point of the year, which is absolutely insane to even say. But where would you like to be, or what would you like to happen in the next year from today?
Oh,
Potentially
great.
Lofty goals.
Great question. I would really love, I would love for my tour schedule to continue to fill out. It's been tricky because we're all getting back on the road at the same time. And so it's been like a lot to try to, it's always a lot to try to coordinate a tour. I swear it's never like this. Anyway,
It's just it's okay.
it's probably the same person, just.
Yeah, just like, oh, someone's doing something really important right now. Just
Oh my gosh. But so I really want to try for my schedule for next year to get back overseas. It's been a while. This person literally just turned around and came back up the street. This is so
it adds
weird.
personality.
Oh, do you want me to like just pause a second and close the windows?
It's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Um, so, but what I'd really love to get is I'd love to get on a tour as an opener for, a bigger artist
Yeah.
and do some sport dates like that, which I love doing. I have done a lot of tour dates opening for Chris Trapper, who's an awesome singer-songwriter, and he was the lead singer of the Push Stars for many years. And I love doing his shows. His audiences are awesome, and I'd love to get on another few tours with other artists that I love, especially artists in the Americana genre. And
Right.
yeah, I'd love to do that, and I'd love to be playing all the festivals.
I think it's gonna happen. Have a good feeling.
Thank you.
I've got one more question for you, and basically the question is for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that's going to listen to your music for the first time, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them?
Oh, wow, what a good question. I, all of my music essentially is about healing and the forward journey and trusting yourself. And this record really is no different in that way. I mean, it's very different than it's not the same
Sure.
as the other records you've heard, but I want people to recognize themselves in it, to allow themselves to hear themselves in it, and to know that we're all in this together, even though we feel alone, and that it's okay to trust yourself because no one else can guide you the way that you can. And that's my main message.
That's a great answer and a perfect ending to this. Mary, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this.
Thank you so
And
much for having me.
you're so welcome. Let me please plug your music for you one more time. The record is called Begin Again. It will be out on July 22nd. And again, we will have links so that people can listen and share and follow along and see what is coming up on the horizon. But I'm super excited for this record to be released officially. And I sincerely, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It's so nice to meet you and get to chat.
So nice to meet you too. I hope to run into you in LA and hope to see a show one of these days.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. You too. Bye.
Yeah.